देव्यस्त्वनङ्गपृतना घटितुं न शेकुः धर्मस्य दक्षदुहितर्यजनिष्ठमूर्त्याम् नारायणो नर इति स्वपतः प्रभावः दृष्ट्वात्मनो भगवतो नियमावलोपम् देव्यस्त्वनङ्गपृतना घटितुं न शेकुः धर्मस्य दक्षदुहितार्यजनिष्ठमूर्त्याम् नारायणो नर इति स्वपतः प्रभावः दृष्ट्वात्मनो भगवतो नियमावलोपम् देव्यस्त्वनङ्गपृतना घटितुं न शेकुः धर्मस्य दक्षदुहितर्यजनिष्ठमूर्त्याम् नारायणो नर इति स्वपतः प्रभावः दृष्ट्वात्मनो भगवतो नियमावलोपम् देव्यस्त्वनङ्गपृतना घटितुं न शेकुः धर्मस्य दक्षदुहितर्यजनिष्ठमूर्त्याम् नारायणो नर इति स्वपतः प्रभावः दृष्ट्वात्मनो भगवतो नियमावलोपम् देव्यस्त्वनङ्गपृतना घटितुं न शेकुः Mataji's? This is off. धर्मस्य दक्षदुहितर्यजनिष्ठमूर्त्याम् नारायणो नर इति स्वपतः प्रभावः दृष्ट्वात्मनो भगवतो नियमावलो देव्यस्त्वनङ्गपृतना घटितुं न शेकुः So I'd like this to be a little louder. I don't want to keep my mouth that close to it. Well, I need it to be louder. Okay. Anybody else? Word to word meanings? Dharmasya, of dharma, controller of religious principles. Daksha, one of the Prajapatis. Duhitari, unto the daughter. Ajanishta, took Murtyam, of the name Murti. Narayana, Naraha, Nara. The Swatapaha, personal penances. Prabhaha, strength. Drishtva, by seeing. Atmanaha, of his own. Bhagavataha, of the personality of Godhead. Niyama avalopam, breaking the vow. Devyaha, celestial beauty. To, but, Ananga Pratanaha, companion of Cupid. Ghatitum, to happen. Na, never. Shekuhu, made possible. Translation commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. To exhibit his personal way of austerity and penance, he appeared in twin forms as Narayana and Nara in the womb of Murti, the wife of Dharma, and the daughter of Daksha. Celestial beauties, the companions of Cupid, went to try to break his vows, but they were unsuccessful, for they saw that many beauties like them were emanating from him, the personality of Godhead. Purport. The Lord, being the source of everything that be, is the origin of all austerities and penances also. Great vows of austerity are undertaken by sages to achieve success in self-realization. Human life is meant for such tapasya, and the great vow of celibacy or brahmacharya. In the rigid life of tapasya, there is no place for the association of women. And because human life is meant for tapasya, for self-realization, factual human life, as conceived by the system of Sanatana Dharma, or the school of 4 castes and 4 orders of life, prescribes rigid disassociation from woman in the 3 stages of life. In the order of gradual cultural development, one's life may be divided into 4 divisions: celibacy, household life, retirement, and renunciation. During the first stage of life, up to 25 years of age, a man may be trained as a brahmachari under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, just to understand that women is the real binding force in material existence. If one wants to get freedom from the material bondage of conditional life, he must get free from the attraction for the form of women. Women or the fair sex is the enchanting principle for the living entities, and the male form, especially in the human being, is meant for self-realization. The whole world is moving under the spell of womanly attraction, and as soon as a man becomes united with a woman, he at once becomes a victim of material bondage under a tight knot. The desires for lording it over the material world under the intoxication of a false sense of lordship specifically begin just after the man's unification with the woman. The desires for acquiring a house, possessing land, having children, and becoming prominent in society, the affection for community, and the place of birth, and the hankering for wealth, which are all like phantasmagoria or illusory dreams, encumber a human being, and he is thus impeded in his progress towards self-realization, the real aim of life. The brahmachari, or a boy from the age of 5 years, especially from the higher castes, namely from the scholarly parents, the brahmanas, the administrative parents, the kshatriyas, or the mercantile or productive parents, the vaishyas, is trained until 25 years of age under the care of a bona fide guru or teacher. Under strict observance of discipline, he comes to understand the values of life along with taking specific training for a livelihood. The brahmachari is then allowed to go home and enter householder life and get married to a suitable woman. But there are many brahmacharis who do not go home to become householders but continue the life of naishtika brahmacharis without any connection with women. They accept the order of sannyas or the renounced order of life, knowing well that the combination with women is an unnecessary burden that checks self-realization. Since sex desire is very strong at a certain age of life, the guru may allow the brahmachari to marry. This license is given to a brahmachari who is unable to continue the way of naishtika brahmacharya. And such discriminations are possible for the bona fide guru. A program of so-called family planning is needed. The householder who associates with women under scriptural restrictions after a thorough training of brahmacharya cannot be a householder like cats and dogs. Such a householder, after 50 years of age, would retire from the association of women as a vanaprastha to be trained to live alone without the association of women. When the practice is complete, the same retired householder becomes a sannyasi, strictly separate from women, even from his married wife. Studying the whole scheme of disassociation from women, it appears that a woman is a stumbling block for self-realization, and the Lord appeared as Narayana to teach the principle of womanly disassociation with a vow in life. The demigods, being envious of the austere life of rigid brahmacharis, would try to cause them to break their vows by dispatching soldiers of Cupid. But in the case of the Lord, it became an unsuccessful attempt when the celestial beauties saw that the Lord can produce innumerable such beauties by his mystic internal potency, and that there was consequently no need to be attracted by others externally. There is a common proverb that a confectioner is never attracted by sweetmeats. The confectioner who is always manufacturing sweetmeats has very little desire to eat them. Similarly, the Lord, by his pleasure potency, can produce innumerable spiritual beauties and not be the least attracted by the false beauties of material creation. One who does not know alleges foolishly that Lord Krishna enjoyed women in his Rasa Leela in Vrindavan, or with his 16,000 married wives in Dwaraka. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutav Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dharmasya daksha duhitarya janishta murtyam narayano nara iti swapatah prabhavaha drishtvatmano bhagavato niyamavalopam devyastvananga pritana ghatitum nashekuhu. To exhibit his personal way of austerity and penance, he appeared in twin forms as Narayana and Nara in the womb of Murti, the wife of Dharma and the daughter of Daksha. Celestial beauties, the companions of Cupid, went to try to break his vows, but they were unsuccessful, for they saw that many beauties like them were emanating from him, the personality of Godhead. So here the description of the Nara Narayana Rishis as the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is being described. And the Nara Narayana Rishis, they appeared to exhibit austerity and penance. That the word here used is swatapaha, personal penances, and dharmasya. So to exhibit the personal way of austerity and penance, the Supreme Lord appeared as Naranarayana. And so Srila Prabhupada, in his way of explaining things, begins with that word austerity and penance. And simply with austerity and penance, you have 3/4 of this purport, and then you have a little bit about Naranarayana. So we'll see how much we can cover. So now here, this is a purport that many modern people will find very appalling, very shocking, very misogynistic. You know, why is Srila Prabhupada, who's supposed to be a spiritual person, writes like this, that in the rigid life of tapasya, there is no place for the association of women. The whole world is moving under the spell of womanly attraction, and as soon as a man becomes united with a woman, he at once becomes a victim of material bondage under a tight knot. Then, studying the whole scheme of disassociation from women, it appears that a woman is a stumbling block for self-realization. These are very heavy statements. Now, if somebody just takes this and puts this on the internet, sure, this is going to be the reaction. But we must understand that Srila Prabhupada didn't just make this one statement and didn't say anything else. It's not that the Srimad Bhagavatam is making only this statement and not anything else. The point is, man, women, cat, dog, etc. are names given to different species of human lives. They are material forms, they are material designations, and these material designations do not have anything to do with the pure spirit soul which is occupying this body. That ultimately the real philosophy is that one is neither man, nor woman, nor cat, nor dog, nor anything that they consider businessman, American, Indian, Japanese, none of this. None of this. Yet, here we are, encaged in the body of male and female, or cat, or dog, or whatever, in different species of life. And why are we engaged in this in these different species. If you want to pull up, you can pull up Bhagavad Gita 13:22, chapter 13, text 22. Do you have the other one? And it's because there's a lot of verses to pull up. It's going to be a lot easier to use the other Veda base. Okay. Purusha prakritisto hi bhunkte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangasya sadasat yoni janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. He meets with good and evil among various species. So the point here to underline is meets with good and evil among various species. What does that mean? There are good species and evil species. Everything's not one. Everything is not equal. Everyone is not equal. Everything is not equal. It's the fact. The murderer and the saint are not equal. They're not equal. Oh yeah, well, you're a spiritual person. You're supposed to see everyone as equal. Yes, we see everyone as equal as a spirit soul. But the body that they're engaged in, that is not equal. This is called science. Science means you understand, for instance, that there are different drivers. There are different drivers. But one person is driving a bullock cart and the other is driving a high-speed car. There is a difference between the vehicles. This is science. You understand that the passenger, they're citizens of the country and they deserve equal rights. But the car is different. The bullock cart is different. For instance, if you go on highways, they say specifically that no pedestrians allowed. You might have seen signs. No pedestrians allowed, no bikes, no whatever. I don't know what else they write over there, but I've seen some signs like this. Because you can't take a bicycle onto an interstate. It's illegal. It's a vehicle. And there's a driver. But it's not equal. So the point is, when the living entity, which is who's all of us, desire to enjoy material nature, we are given a suitable body to enjoy that material nature. And the desire to enjoy material nature, the conditioned nature of the living entity to enjoy material nature, puts him in different species of life, some of which are good and some of which are evil. What does it mean good? What does it mean evil? Who decides what's good and who decides what's evil? I feel that Americans are the best people in the world. And therefore, America should go and bomb, some other country. Why? Because, Americans know what's right. And we feel that that country needs to be bombed. So bomb it. Finished. There's a history. So, who decides what is good or evil? The Supreme Lord decides. Why? Because He created everything. Somebody, I'm not even going to go, but somebody who thinks that there is no God, basically, you might wonder if they have a brain or not. Because it's like, it's so obvious that this world was created. That's another discussion. Understanding that this world is created, we must understand that the laws of material nature has also been created by the Supreme Lord. And these designations of good or evil, which is good, which is bad, which is acceptable, which is pious activity, which is sin, this is also determined by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is that verse? Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. So this verse comes in the Bhagavatam, that dharma, that which is righteous, is determined by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That which is good and that which is bad is determined by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? Because He is narcissistic? No. Because the living entities are mamaivamso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. That we living entities are ultimately parts and parcels of Krishna. And being parts and parcels of Krishna, ultimately we are meant to serve Him. We are not meant to play God in this material universe, because by playing God we are miserable. And therefore, that species which brings him closer to this understanding that he has to become a servant of Krishna is good. That species that has more of an inclination to other things is evil. This is the generalization that you will find. Which is why you will see animals are stated in the Bhagavatam. Give me a verse. What is that? Dvipada Pashu. Savidvara hoshtra karai samstuta purusha pasuhu. That, some animals are mentioned here. The hog, the camel, the ass. All these animals are mentioned. Why? Because we hate them. We have something against the horse or the camel or the donkey or or the pig. Do we have something against it? No. The point is, these species are referred to display a certain type of ignorance. What is that type of, and when that ignorance is displayed by a human being, he is called, why are you living like a pig? Nothing. Not that we are not trying to offend the pig. But so this kind of language is used. Nowadays, people are very fond of using euphemistic languages. You're not supposed to say. First they had disabled people, then they had differently abled people, and then now they have special needs, people of special needs. First they had pedophiles, and then now they have minor attracted persons. MAP. Oh, you're going to make it sound good. However you make it sound, the thing is the same thing. You can keep giving different words. We can substitute this word. If you go to another language, they don't use the word woman. They may use the word whatever that word is in that language. It doesn't make the item any different. It doesn't make the object any different. It doesn't make the characteristic any different. So, people who are unwilling to understand these things, who are unwilling to accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they come up with all these ridiculous ideas. But when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, when we read Bhagavad Gita, we become enlightened. We become enlightened with knowledge. What knowledge? We become enlightened with knowledge that these different species of life, they exhibit different characteristics. In the Bhagavad Gita, 3 modes of material nature are explained. You have goodness, passion, and ignorance. And what are the living entities? Same verse. Purusha prakriti stohi bhunkte prakriti jan gunan. So you have prakriti jan gunan. So these living entities, they are born, these different species, karanam guna sangha asya, by association with the modes of nature, sadasat yoni janmasu. So you have these 3 modes of material nature, goodness, passion and ignorance, and in different permutations and combinations of this goodness, passion and ignorance, you have different species. You have the same thing among different species. You will find there are so many dogs. Some species of dogs are known to be very ferocious. They're known to be quite dangerous, like or a pit bull. A pit bull is there are instances where pit bulls have killed people, or killed children at least. Yeah, there's been so much, but so that they had to restrict it. And then there are species of dogs that can't do anything. Right? Basically, the Chihuahua. It's a small thing. Nobody is scared of that Chihuahua. And so, but it's a dog. It's a dog. But it doesn't exhibit, for instance, the level of ferocious passion that the pit bull might exhibit. It's also a dog. Which means what? It is a different permutation and combination of the modes of material nature. When you have this difference between dogs, can this difference not exist between human beings? It does exist. It exists among different races. It exists and therefore it exists between man and woman as a general. Between man and woman as a general thing, it exists. This is the science. It's not very difficult to understand. But we are so affected by this crazy idea that everything is equal, when actually nothing is really equal. Karma is not equal. You and your sister are not equal. Even if you both may be women, you and your sister are not equal. You both are sisters, you both are women, you both are children of the same father. You're not equal. And it's the same thing within the same family. Twins are not equal. This is the way karma works. The way karma acts is that it creates these different permutations and combinations of the modes of material nature. And therefore, there is generalization that is stated in the Vedas. This generalization is not for the sake of exploitation. This generalization is for us to understand that particular nature to transcend. This is the point. This is the point, to understand this nature. And so therefore, I mean, for instance, okay, so Prabhupada states, we heard this in the lecture yesterday, Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, Text 2. Prabhupada is stating in a lecture, he says, a female wants male and a male wants female. This is the attraction. This is the basic principle of binding the conditioned soul in this miserable life of repeated birth and death. This attraction. Therefore, Vedic civilization is based on how to get out of this attraction. The Varnashram Dharma. There is attraction. You cannot avoid it. To make the best use of a bad bargain. So we have this attraction. Why? Because we are here. This body is proof. It's proof positive. All we need to do is look at ourselves in a mirror and understand, wow, I'm so good at screwing myself up because I've got this body where I'm misidentifying myself. I'm spirit soul. I'm pure spirit soul. I have nothing to do with wealth, money, power, prestige. I have nothing to do with matter. But yet, here I am thinking that I belong to this matter. I am of this matter, and this matter is me. And therefore, when I think like that, I am attracted to another matter which has some relationship with this matter. I am attracted. Why? Because I have identified this is my wife, this is my children, this is my house. There are so many houses, but that one particular house you are very affectionate to. That is all house. It's all brick. It's all wood. It's all concrete. Why attracted to that particular house? Because of misidentification. Same thing. The female cat also has blood, bones, muscle, etc., etc. But attraction is to the female form of a human being, not attraction to the female form of a cat. Why? Because this is Maya. This is illusion. This is illusion. Now, because I happen to be in the form of a human being, I'm attracted to another human being. But if I were in the form of a cat, I'll get attracted to the female cat. Although I may not think it's very beautiful. We can see so many animals having sex. I don't think that's very attractive. I don't think they look very attractive. Actually, myself and Charandeep, we were in, Spanish Fork. So they have peacocks. If you see peacock, the male peacock and the female peacock. The male peacock looks so beautiful. He has these long plumes, these beautiful feathers, and he has this nice crown on his head, 3 sticking. Very beautiful. The female looks very ugly. It doesn't have any of these feathers. It doesn't have anything. This beautiful male, which has all these beautiful feathers, everybody else is attracted to the male. That male is attracted to the female. Why? Is there any logic or reason in this? There is no logic and reason. It is called Maya. It is called illusion. It's called Maya. When one has the illusion that one wants to enjoy matter, this is what happens. We get attracted. And when we get attracted, these are the reactions. What are the reactions? You start getting, as Srila Prabhupada states in that same lecture. Now he says, so he said, in the beginning there is attraction. Man wants woman, woman wants man. But as soon as they're united, that attraction becomes deep-rooted. First of all, desire. At that time, the attraction is not deep-rooted. But as soon as they are united, either legally or illegally, that attraction becomes deep-rooted. Virudham. Pumsa mituni bhavam, pumsa striya mituni bhavam etam tayor mita. As soon as they unite, hridaya granthi mahu is now there. Now that attraction becomes a hard knot in the heart. He is always thinking, oh, he's my lover, she's my lover. Like that attraction. So then, after united, just like one married couple, as soon as they are married or united, atha griha means apartment, home. They must live very nicely. Then kshetra means field. Formerly there was no industry. The earning means of livelihood was agriculture. Everyone must have some land to produce grains, fruits, that's all. Now apartment. Then to maintain that apartment, expenditure. We have invented industry or trade or so many things. Pickpocketing, killing. So many things. Formerly the means of livelihood was simple. You take some land, work little, produce your grains and the cows are there. Chanakya Pandit has said, family life without child is shunyam, putrahinam griham shunyam. So, I'm skipping a couple of things. So then he says that in spite of having home, and you are married, but if there is no issue, then it is zero. Putrahinam griham shunyam, sarva shunya daridrata. And if you have no money, then everything is zero. So you need to have money. So in spite of having a home, child or education, there are so many people, but if they have no employment, their life is zero. So as soon as we are united, all these things are required. Nice home, apartment, some field for producing food, then some friends, sutta, children, money. And in this way, just like a tree gradually expands its root, so our attraction, male-female attraction, becomes deeply rooted by these things. This is the point. This is the science. This is how it works. And, in the same purport, Bhagavatam 2.4.2, Prabhupada writes, attachment for household paraphernalia and Lord Krishna go poorly together. See, if the aim of spiritual life is to come out of this, then one has to understand what is causing that bondage. What is causing that bondage? So this is very important. In fact, you can pull this up. Canto 6, chapter 18, text 30. Is it there? Okay. So, text 30. In the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma, the father of living entities of the universe, saw that all living entities were unattached. To increase the population, he created woman from the better half of man's body, for woman's behavior carries away a man's mind. This is in the Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavatam. Now, why woman? Because the nature that Supreme Lord, because different species, they have different needs. So, a woman has more needs than a man. What is her need? She needs more clothes. She needs a house. She needs different things. It's natural. A woman tends to have, in general, more possessions than a male. You get offended as much. It's a universal fact. You go to Japan, it's the same thing. You go to Russia, it's the same thing. You go to South America, it's the same thing. Why is it the same thing? Because it is how it is. It is not some concoction. It is not some patriarchal, misogynistic idea. If it was a patriarchal, misogynistic idea, then it wouldn't exist all over the world. It is a fact that this is required. And because a woman needs all these things, the moment a man becomes associated with the woman, he has to provide for all of this because she needs it. But for a man who is very, very, just to go by the very definition of a man, this actually, you can pull up this verse, 6, 1, 13, 14. Canto 6, chapter 1, text 13, 14. Okay, this is a famous verse. Tapasa brahmacharyena samena cha damena cha tyagena satya sauchabhyam yamena niyamena va dehava buddhijam dhira dharmagnya shraddhayanvitaha kshipyanti agam mahad api venugulmam ivanalaha. To concentrate the mind, one must observe life as celibacy and not fall down. One must undergo the austerity of voluntarily giving up sense enjoyment. One must then control the mind and senses, give charity, be truthful, clean and non-violent, follow the regulative principles, and regularly chant the holy name of the Lord. Thus, a sober and faithful person who knows the religious principles is temporarily purified of all sins performed with his body, words, and mind. These sins are like the dried leaves of creepers beneath a bamboo tree, which may be burned by fire, although their roots remain to grow again at the first opportunity. So, going down, Srila Prabhupada, he quotes this verse. So it says, quoting from the Vedas, Sri Veera Raghava Acharya explains that austerity involves observing fasts as fully as possible. Tapasana shakena. Srila Rupa Goswami has advised that atyahara, too much eating, is an impediment to advancement in spiritual life. Also in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yuktahara viharasya yukta chetasya karmasu Yukta swapnava bhavasya yogo bhavati dukkha. He who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can mitigate all pains by practicing the yoga system. See, from the pure perspective of what the soul needs, the soul doesn't need. The soul does not need all these different kind of luxuries in life. The soul doesn't need, the spirit living entity does not need house, wife, children, all these kind of wealth, all these kind of things. If it needed all of that, then the spirit soul would be material. But the spirit soul is spiritual. And in the human form of life, still this body is made of matter, it requires some needs. But in the male form of life, these needs are as minimal as it gets in the material world. In this material universe, the needs of a male is the minimal that one can expect. And therefore, therefore Shukadeva Goswami says, he says things that we cannot even imagine, we cannot even follow. Shukadeva Goswami says, what is the need of a pillow when one can have one hand and just sleep? What is the need of a house if there's a tree to sleep under? What is the need of a bed when you can just lie on the floor, on the ground? These are statements of Shukadeva Goswami, and he lived like that. Right? This is that level of renunciation. In the strictest sense of the term, that is true. You don't need it. But we feel we need it. I mean, how are we going to live? You tell devotees, okay, from tomorrow, all of you go and live under a different tree each day. Huh? Yeah, underneath, see, we have so many trees in the back. Each of you choose one tree. And whether it's hot or cold or it's raining or there's a storm or anything, just adjust. Anyways, you're not the material body. Right? So, that is where the conditioning comes. That is where the guidance of the spiritual master comes. That is where intelligence is applied. Because ultimately, actually all of these things are atyahara. They are all atyahara. All these items are atyahara. And the point is, if one is practicing brahmacharya, right, one should understand that actually right now I'm living in the house of the Guru and I'm not freaking out. I'm living, I'm happy, I am practicing Krishna consciousness, I am following. Now, we must understand that since I lived like this for some years, I can live like that. Of course, the point is, some may not be able to live like that their whole life. But those who deeply think about it and who are really, really serious, what they do, they say, I live like this, I can continue to live like that. And I'm going to tolerate, and I'm not going to accumulate more because already the Guru has provided everything that I need. Why am I going to accumulate more? If I accumulate more, am I not proceeding against the direction of spiritual life? Am I not proceeding against the path of liberation? Am I not binding myself further into this material universe? So this is the thought of an Naishtika Brahmachari. Naishtika Brahmachari thinks, I don't want to associate. I don't want to get married with a woman because I don't want to increase my needs. Why? Because I am satisfied right now. But he has to be satisfied. That is the point. That is the point. And the way he will be satisfied is only if he convinces himself that what he has right now is enough. He doesn't need anything more. If he does not convince himself that what I have right now is enough, and he thinks, well, I think I need, I may need, I feel like I need, then you must get married. Then you must get married. Why? Because those needs are fulfilled in the Grihastha ashram. And okay, if those needs have to get fulfilled, why doesn't the Guru buy a palace for his disciples? And then they don't have to get married, right? No. The point is, beyond, when material needs increase, one has to take responsibility. If one has material opulence, if one accepts sense gratification without responsibility, one will go to hell, straight to hell. Why? Because there is nothing to regulate. There is nothing to regulate. Why can't I just, I don't have to get, if I get married to a woman, I need a house, but if I just go and have sex with one woman every night, then what's the problem? The problem is you're going to go to hell. You're going to hell for polluting so many women, for being so irresponsible, for acting like a false renunciant, when actually you are you are the most degraded of sense enjoyers. Whereas a person who accepts, he may practice brahmacharya and he understands the principles and religious, rules. He accepts one woman and he keeps it regulated. He keeps it regulated. He protects that woman, he protects that children. He understands the encumbrances he is accepting, but he accepts those because he realizes that he is dissatisfied to the extent that that dissatisfaction can cause him to deviate from his principles of renunciation. Instead of deviating from his principles of renunciation, it is better that he is honorable. He admits, I am not. Although theoretically I understand all these things. And I have tried, in the case of the Puranic sense, I have tried to be a brahmachari for 25 years of my life. And I am still dissatisfied. Dissatisfied meaning I still feel there is some other need. Then he should get married. Even though that marriage is going to give him a lot of trouble. He should take it. Because what he does, he gives protection to a woman who needs that protection, who needs that shelter, who needs that house. In this way, he becomes regulated. Although his material sense gratification is channeled in a manner that allows him to experience the misery of household life, while at the same time purify himself and uplift him without causing a disturbance in society, without being an irresponsible debauchee. This is a very, very important point to understand. Therefore, Prabhupada writes here, a system of so-called family planning is required. What is that so-called family planning? So-called family planning is required because everyone, even though the theory may be there, they might not be able to stick it out. They might not be able to stick it out as a brahmachari. Although, it is a fact that by associating with the women form of life, one has to take up more needs. Now, this is I have a lot of points here, and so I'm going to extend this class into tomorrow. But the point here is that the varnashram system of separation between male and female and having this family planning whereby in a regulated way a man and woman come together for the sake of marriage. It's not that, see, those who are immature renunciants, they hate women. And those who are immature women, they hate the idea of all this kind of things, because they still identify themselves as a woman. And this false renunciant, even though he thinks he's renunciant, he still identifies himself as a man. Therefore, he has terrible aversion. I've seen some brahmacharis. Some lady walks into the room, temple room. They are in the temple room, lady walks into the temple room. They get so agitated. She didn't do anything. She's just minding her business. Get so agitated. Oh, she came in. Why are they coming in? I wish they never came in. It's like, dude, that is not a renunciant. That is not somebody who understands knowledge. At the same time, you will find that those who are renunciants, they are not alone with women. But it is not that they consider all women to be like a walking time bomb. No. If you kind of look at things like that, and you're looking at things in a very mundane way, it doesn't last. The point is, one has to follow the advice. Yes, because I have a nature. It's not her problem, it's my problem. I have a nature to become affected. Srila Prabhupada, being a pure devotee, see, Prabhupada writes, one should not, sit with a woman. One should not be alone with a woman because the mind is so dangerous that one may get carried away. Still, in the early days, Srila Prabhupada allowed Jadurani Mataji to paint in his room. She was in his room in 26 2nd Avenue. She was in his apartment. Only him and her were there. But not even once did Jadurani Mataji feel that Prabhupada had approached her with any idea of lust or anything like that. It didn't exist. Now, we cannot imitate Srila Prabhupada. We cannot imitate. If we imitate, what will happen? We'll fall down. So this is very important to understand. By understanding our own conditioning, these rules and regulations are there. In our temple, so at Guru Puja, before Bhakti Vikas Maharaj came this year, before that, the custom that we had was that men would offer flowers, the beginning of Guru Puja, and then right after that, the women would come and they would also offer flowers. I don't know if you've all noticed, there's some change. The women, now, they don't offer when the Guru Puja prayers are sung, they wait until the men have turned towards to face the deities, and then they go and offer the flowers. Now, initially, I was a little like, oh no, this is not right. And one or two times I had asked the women to come and offer, flowers. And then I approached Maharaj, I approached Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, who's a Naishtika brahmachari, celibate his whole life, And I approached him, I asked him, so the women are doing this, but it wasn't done during Prabhupada's time. And Guru Maharaj said, see, if they feel comfortable doing that, what is the problem? If they're not forced to, but if they feel comfortable, then that is good. That shyness is good. Because why? It's not that they think that, it's not that we are consciously thinking, it's not that women, when they exhibit shyness, they should be mindful that the shyness is not supposed to be exhibited in a manner as if thinking that every man who walks across you is going to pounce on you and have sex. This is not shyness. That is paranoid. That is not shyness. That's being paranoid. It's not that all men are like that. Just like men, women, it's like, just chill, it's like, calm down. It's like, because if we are influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance, then this is how we think. We think like this because the emotions are running high. There's no intelligence involved. Intelligence must be there. Intelligence tells us to follow culture, that shyness is good. Because, like for instance, in India, again, it's common, like you see here, the women are standing in the back. They don't be forced to stand in the back. If they come to the front, we are not going to chop their heads off. It's not that they're being forced. They're doing it voluntarily. In India, this is also done. And two Western Prabhupada disciples saw this being done at females, saw this being done at a temple in India, and they were literally pulling the women to the front of the temple room. Pull. Why? We were talking about freedom. They have the freedom to stand in the back if they want to. We fought for this. We fought for you to become liberated of this patriarchal crap. It's like, they're feeling fine. They're happy. Why are you forcing? Why are you imposing your ideas? This is all misunderstanding of Shastra. It is all misunderstanding. And then devotees, when they read this kind of purport, oh, we can't talk about this. We can't say anything about this. Skip the purport. Let's talk something sweet. Let's have something cute. You know, the point is this: men exist, women exist in this world, like it or not. And if the men are too agitated that women exist, then Prabhupada said, go to the forest. You know, same thing holds on the other way too. But so when we generally speak of things, we say, oh, businessman wants to make money. Does that mean we have a problem with businessmen? He wants to make money. He wants to make a lot of money. Businessman means he will always try to make an extra dollar. Doesn't mean we have a problem with businessmen. We may have several friends who are businessmen. But there is a general nature of being a businessman. Otherwise, you are not a businessman. If you are so expert at losing money, how are you a businessman? So similarly, there is a general nature of male, there is a general nature of female. And the female form has been created for the sake of attracting the mind of a male. And the female form of life causes this bondage. This is the science. Men are supposed to understand this. Women are also supposed to understand this. So that they both learn how to behave. They both learn how to act. For what? See, in Vedic culture, all that is taught is a woman has to become attracted to her husband and that she should serve her husband. Why? Because in Vedic culture, without devotional service, without Krishna consciousness, the male may, then the female, if she is attracted to the male in the next form of life, she may become a male. But we are not saying that our Krishna conscious women have to become males in their next life. Nowhere it is said. We want men and women to go back to Godhead. But in the meantime, we have to prevent fall down. We have to prevent fall down. And this is the important point to understand. So there is so much more that can be said, and I'll probably continue tomorrow. Lots more to speak in this regard. I'll be going more into the purport tomorrow. But this is a general kind of like overview. So I'll stop here. Any questions or comments?
One misconception of patriarchy, which is hated so much in this world, like any civilization, take into consideration all over. Patriarchy, if it means that women are just meant to be exploited, every time a war is fought, the patriarchs don't send the women to go fight the war.
Right.
The men go and fight the war.
Yeah.
Like we can talk about feminism all we want, but the minute someone walks in with a gun, the feminism goes out the door.
Yeah.
So this kind of nonsense is just there because of sense gratification.
Yeah. Feminism just is another hatred. So there's misogynistic, which is hatred of women, and then you have the other side. They have a word for that. The hatred of women. No, hatred of men. Huh? Misandry, yes. So then you have misandry. You have hatred of men. How does this solve the problem of material life? It does not. And so we have to be careful because we get influenced by these ideas and we bring it into Krishna consciousness. We forget what is tradition. You cannot just throw centuries of practice of pure devotees out of the window just because you happen to be an American. Wow. Your qualification of an American, which the country of America existed over the last 250 years or 300 years, somehow gives you the qualification to throw away the customs of pure devotees that have been practiced for centuries, millennia. That's puffed up. This is called puffed up womanly concept of life. Puffed up, stupid, being stupid. So it means thinking with emotions rather than intelligence. So it's the nature of a woman to feel more with her emotions. But women can be intelligent. But the point is, the nature of a woman is that she thinks more with her emotions. So puffed up womanly concept, you're puffed up and you think with your emotions. And you make everything into a big mess.
Just also one point, and this it's such, this like purports like this cause so many problems and within devotional society. One aspect of this is like in modern Western society or Western society in general, generally there's unscrupulous men and that are very much present.
Definitely.
So you'll see that and therefore the women seem to be against it, but their solution to what their solution is has not created any solution. It's created more dissatisfaction and more problems
There is
within
a real
the society.
problem. There is a problem of irresponsible and rascal-like men. There is a real problem in society like that. Therefore, we are training men. We are training men. We have brahmacharis who are trained. You're trained to be responsible. Therefore, brahmacharis are meant to be responsible. That's why it's a big deal when you're not responsible. When you're irresponsible, it's a big deal. And men cannot be irresponsible. Men have to be responsible. The highest type of men are responsible for dharma. The highest class of men, and among dharma, savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radoksache ahaitukya pratihata ye atma suprasidati. And among those men who give importance to dharma, which is the three higher castes, among them, the devotee is the best because he gives importance to the dharma of devotional service, of his order of his spiritual master. And among those people who give importance to the order of the spiritual master, there are few who just take up the life of a renunciant and say, that's it. I give importance to this and this only in my life. That's all. That means responsible. It begins with the responsibility. But you know, if a brahmachari cannot keep a key responsibly, then it's a problem. There is a problem. You may not see the problem. It's just a key. Yeah, it's just a key. It's made of metal. Nothing big. How much does it cost? $2, maybe. You lose money as a brahmachari, it's a problem. It's not, you're not going to work around it. These are important points to understand, that irresponsible men are a problem and they create a lot of problem in society. Therefore, the brahmachari ashram is meant to generate responsible men who will take up responsibility. With responsibility comes problems. That doesn't mean that you will run away from problems. Because if you think that, oh, I'm not going to be responsible, I'm just going to run away from problems, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, you are stupid if you don't realize that creates so many problems for you. You suffer like anything. You end up suffering because of being irresponsible. We think that responsibility is suffering. Irresponsibility is greater suffering.
So, main reason I was saying that was because it's like you see a culture that's lasted thousands of years with this understanding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that where the culture is actually families together, the women are happy, the men are doing their duties, they're pleased in their own whatever atmosphere they may be in, and overall the society functions. But now you see with this puffed up womanly concept of life, this whole whatever feminism and this liberalism coming in, it's just so many issues. And I heard this one argument that it actually, like even Bhagavad Gita, if the women become degraded, then everything goes down. And so it's actually, if the women allow the degradation to come, actually because the main thing is we're speaking about is the sex attraction. If the women allow the sex attraction to be cheap, that the man is allowed to have sex with the woman for whatever, just I'll pay for your dinner and that's it.
And we can
I'll
abort
take
the
you out
child.
to the movies and we can do whatever
We can
you
abort
like.
the child.
Then they are the cause of the degradation. Because if they restrict the sex, they can restrict it. They can, they're like, okay, I'm not going to allow this until marriage, which is the religious principle. Then the men will be forced to get married because the man will do anything for sex, basically.
Yeah,
So-
I mean,
so
it's not that straightforward though.
No,
because,
but it is the principle.
No, because the reason is they'll get married, the man will get married, and then after that he'll run away. What will you do? So the thing is, irresponsible men are a big problem. Therefore, whole-scale, Prabhupada used this, whole-scale reformation is required. So Prabhupada is making this point, a system of so-called family planning is needed. Planned parenthood is not that family planning. Where is the parent? Is abortion. There is the parent. There is no planning, there is no parent. It's just abortion. So this nonsense, but this is what they come up with. They understand, oh, there must be some kind of planning. What planning? So-called, so the planning needs to be done according to the system of Daiva Varnashram, because this is the system that Krishna has established.
That is there in Vedic culture. Generally, that's like the women are restricted or protected by their fathers so that they don't get polluted, and they're in that way the husband or the man is judged according to his ability to have responsibility. It's not just this. So the point is that the women are not, able to pick the men who are responsible.
That's true.
So that's a huge problem.
No,
and
that's
also
there.
There's, like you're saying,
That's
there's a scarcity
that,
of responsibility of men too.
Yeah, I was going to speak about that a little more tomorrow, because that point is mentioned here. That the Guru may allow the brahmachari to marry. This license is given to a brahmachari who is unable to continue the way of Naishtika brahmacharya. Such discriminations are possible for the bona fide Guru. And so to speak about this, about that, but briefly touch upon that subject, was one of the things I wanted to mention, that because if men and women rush into this, then even if they may be devotees, it ends up in being a huge problem. I'll talk a little more about that later.
One important point also is that it is the irresponsible, rascal-like men who actually come up with these kinds of philosophies of feminism in order to exploit women more.
Sure.
And that's the whole propaganda. It didn't come. It wasn't made by a woman. It was made by a man to exploit more women.
Yeah.
And the brainwashing is done so amazingly that the women, while they're being exploited, think they're not being exploited.
Mm-hmm.
And Prabhupada said this, that, you're saying, why should the woman, you're protesting that the wife should be the servant of the husband, but then instead of being the servant of one man in the name of feminism, you're going in being servant of so many men. So many men.
Yeah.
And then the man gets you pregnant, leaves you with the kid. Who's at last?
Yeah.
Who's at last?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sharandeep.
You were saying that a brahmachari lives in Guru's home.
Yes.
Right? So, and in the purport it also says that generally brahmacharis, they take sannyas as they progress and they stay a brahmachari.
No, it says some. There are some.
Okay.
There are many brahmacharis who do not go home to become householders but continue the life of Naishtika brahmacharya without any connection with women. They accept the order of sannyas.
Some of them. But is it also the norm that brahmacharis can stay in the Guru's ashram throughout their life?
Sannyasi, the point is the sannyas, in this case what you are saying, you are thinking that sannyas means they have to leave.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the case. The point is that you may have kshetra sannyasi who may just stay in one location. But a sannyasi accepts everything to be the mercy of his spiritual master. He accepts everything to be the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And as a brahmachari, he takes that. Sannyas just means that you just can never. Sannyas is a order of life that is accepted where one is not allowed to turn back. One cannot get married. A brahmachari can get married, but when he accepts sannyas, he can never get married. So he takes that extra step as a social custom. It is a social custom. He accepts that social order in order to further, further move forward in that direction to a point of no return. He forces himself in that side, But he has to do that after some realization and with the blessings of his guru or other, elder Vaishnavas. Otherwise, if he prematurely accepts sannyas, he will fall down because he's not ready for it. Okay. Anything else? Maybe the women? Yeah. Well, we're continuing tomorrow, so you can make note of this. I want to give some chance to the women.
I have two questions. What does atyahara mean?
Atyahara. Atyahara means over accumulation.
Okay.
So, in the strictest sense of the term, atyahara basically refers to anything beyond any. So, what is over accumulation? What is accumulation? What's over accumulation? Accumulation refers to what you need for the body, and over accumulation refers to accumulating things beyond what is needed. And for a renunciant, for a Naishtika brahmachari, his idea is to keep reducing his needs, not increasing. He keeps reducing his needs, and then anything beyond that becomes over accumulation, atyahara. But for instance, for a woman to desire a home is not atyahara. Although, because that's her bodily need. And similarly, for a man who has a wife, having a house is not atyahara. But in the strictest sense of the term, there are women who think, why do I need to go through this? Or, anyways, I'll go further into that. But generally, there are women who, and I'm gonna explain this further tomorrow. There are women whose, for whatever reason, they're still young, but their husband passed away or ran away or whatever. Instead of trying to get themselves further entangled, they literally just become married to the deity. And they just serve the deity. They just serve the temple. They just live like that. They just reduce their needs to serve, which is very, 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 very hard. Just like it is really hard to imagine a brahmachari going and living under a tree every day, different tree every day. It's very hard to imagine. It's as hard for a woman to be like that. So atyahara refers to over accumulation. And therefore Rupa Goswami says overeating, because eating beyond what's required for the body is overeating, atyahara, and that leads to downfall. What's your second question?
So like some devotees, the more liberal ones will argue, because you said that, the female form was created to attract the minds of a male, which is obvious, but some people would be like, what about, a man's body attracting our mind, So like, for example, they'll say like, they'll argue, they'll say that it's not fair that we can't lead kirtan and this, but then you show them why, and then they say like, well, isn't the same for us, can't we also become attracted in that way too, So what do you say?
Yeah, so so in this regard, one has to understand, yes, the attraction is there. For a man, woman is illusion, and for a woman, man is illusion. There is no doubt about this, that attraction is there. Yet, by the principle of the fact that the male form of life is a stronger form physically, means that when women are approached by men, there is less likelihood than a man approached by women to become victimized against their will, right? I'm not talking with their will. One who wants to willingly do, that's another thing altogether. But we are speaking about victimization. When we mean victim, we mean it's against the will. And this happens because men, when their minds are uncontrolled, their physical power combines with it. And it turns out to be very devastating. And therefore, a woman is taught to be shy because it prevents it doesn't completely prevent. Nothing completely prevents anything, right? You drive, you wear a seat belt, you're driving safely, you're alert, you're not sleepy, anything. It doesn't mean that it's 100% guarantee that you're not going to get into an accident. It just means you have a higher likelihood of not getting into an accident. So similarly, we have a higher likelihood of men and women being able to stay in their lanes. Yes, Women can be victimized, and sure, you know, if a gang of women were to approach a man, then it's going to be a big problem for the male. And there are instances of this happening. But in general, let's take history. History is that women have been more victimized unwillingly into relationships, forced into abuse, more than men. Is it not true? It is true as a universal fact. It is not in any. It is not true only in some particular country. Like the Western media likes to, make a big hype about rapes in India. Rape is everywhere. But as a devotee, especially as a devotee woman, devotees have a certain idea of how they want to conduct their life. They don't want that to be turned upside down unwillingly by a person who doesn't care about them. So to prevent this, and there are other factors also that I'll explain tomorrow, but this is one of the main reasons that why they make the same argument. Right? Karmis make another argument. Why do the women have to dress in a certain way? Tell the men to behave themselves. Okay, and go ahead. We're seeing what's happening. It's not going to stop. The men have to be controlled, but there has to be cooperation. The women should cooperate, and the men also need to cooperate. For instance, women need their space, and men need to give them that space. So the men also have to cooperate. Both need to cooperate with each other. Like I said, men exist, women exist. Now, are we going to coexist or fight? So, is that okay? Anything else? Okay. So, we'll stop here and we'll continue, Krishna willing, tomorrow. Hare Krishna.